guys, it's Lauren from My Happy Makeover, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about how I go about painting furniture. I've had a few questions about the products that I use, and so I thought it might be good to just tell you the tricks that I've learned over the years. I've painted a lot of furniture, and so maybe you can learn from my mistakes. So let's just jump right in. First thing you need to do is to sand your project. Do not skip this step. It's good for two reasons. One is it gets rid of any minor scratches, or even deeper. You can probably get out some deeper scratches. The yellow dresser that I did, it looked like a cat had just like gone to town on one of the legs, and just it was all clawed up. So I have this electric sander that I use that takes care of the job really quick. These things are not very expensive. I bet you can get one, I think, for like $30 or $40. They're really worth it. You can sand by hand, but whatever you do, don't skip that step. It's really important to getting a smooth finish. The second reason it's important is because your furniture that probably has some sort of clear protected coat on it, and you want to rough up the surface of your dresser in order for the paint to stick. Otherwise, after you're done painting, it's just gonna peel right back off, and you're gonna be really mad because you spent lots of hours painting that dresser, and now the paint's just peeling right off. So step one is to sand. Once you've sanded, you need to obviously, get all the dust off of your dresser. Next is prime. I know they make paint now that has primer already mixed in. I like to go ahead and just use a basic primer as my next step. I have two that I like. One is the most popular, it's Kilz. I like this product, but I also, someone recommended this other product called Zinsser. They just said it's the one that starts with a Z, and that's how I remember it. It's the only one that starts with a Z. I don't have a preference. I think they both work really well. The primer is what's going to keep the color from fading through. Especially if you're going to be painting your project a light color, you need to prime it so that the color doesn't fade through, and you will probably have to use less coats of paint if you put a primer on first. It also helps your paint to stick to your project. So it's really important that you don't skip the primer. So also, if you are spray painting something, Zinsser also makes a primer for spray paint that's really good, and I would recommend that over Kilz for spray paint. Okay, so this is also important. After every single coat of paint, you're going to sand again, but you're going to do it by hand. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive because you're like, I just painted, why am I sanding this project back down? But it will rough up the surface a little bit so that the next coat of paint will stick to that surface. And I started doing this recently, and it really makes a big difference. I don't know a lot about sandpaper, but I like to use this one. This one is a 220 grit fine sandpaper block. I also have one that says 150 medium. So I might use medium if I need to get a deeper sanding. I use the fine if I'm just trying to get just a light sanding. After you've primed and then you have gone back and sanded, then you get to put on your paint. And this is the fun part. Here's my favorite brand of paint. I know Benjamin Moore is a really popular brand that's supposed to be like the best, but Home Depot sells this brand. It's called Behr, and it's really great. This one is the Premium Plus Ultra, has paint and primer mixed in together. I really like it because I think it's a good quality paint, and you don't want to go out and get the cheapest paint that you can find. It's really important that you get a good quality paint, and I am the biggest nerd. So my mother-in-law, she subscribes to a magazine called Consumer Reports, and because she does that subscription, they let her give a free subscription to someone else. And I guess I'm probably the nerdiest person that she knows because she gave me her free subscription, which, thank you, Nancy. I read it every single month. It has never steered me wrong. So Consumer Reports reviews tons of products. I consult it for any major purchases. Okay, Consumer Reports is not paying me to say this. I just really, really love it. My cars are never in the shop My appliances never break down. This is the paint that they recommended. They said it was really good. They tested it thoroughly. So that's why I've picked this brand of paint, and I know it's good and it works really well. So my dresser took 3 coats of yellow paint, and I would suggest that you keep putting the paint on until you get a nice, clean, even finish on your dresser or your project that you're working on. I know how it goes. So the first coat you put on, you're like, this is fun, I'm painting. But then the second coat, you're like, this is taking forever. And the third coat, you're like, when is this gonna be done? Because it feels like it's just going on forever and ever. But do not give up. Keep on going until your project has an even coat. And so after every single layer you put on, you need to go back with your sandpaper and sand it down and make it look nice for the next coat of paint. Okay, so I know now you're like deep into your project. You are ready to be done. But this last step is super important. Also, could completely destroy your project. It is the top coat. Okay, it is important to put top coat on your project because it seals the paint in and it protects your furniture from scratches and scuffs. The problem is if you put this sealant on wrong, and it's not just this brand, it's basically every sealer. This is clear, but it can easily turn your projects yellow. And it's happened to me, especially if you're painting something that's white, that you are at a high risk of it turning yellow. But even I painted my breakfast table is turquoise, and I put this top coat on, and I did it wrong, and I put it on too thick, and it's got yellow. It was yellow, had yellow gloopy spots, and I had to sand it down and start over. Do you think I was happy? No, I was not. I was mad. I was really mad. But you can learn from my lesson. Oh, I forgot to mention. You really need to invest in a good paintbrush. This is, obviously I need to learn how to clean my paintbrushes better. But this is my favorite brand. It's called Purdy, P-U-R-D-Y. It's like a $20 paintbrush, but it's important to get a good paintbrush that will not leave brush strokes on your furniture. Okay, so how do you put this on without it turning yellow and getting terrible results? You need to make sure that you put it on thin, but not too thin. Okay, you don't want to brush over the same spot over and over and over. You want to brush it on and then maybe go over it like once more just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So you need enough that you can brush on it again without it being like, gummy. But you don't want to put too much on that it kind of pulls up because it's very thin. So especially if you're working on something vertical, it is going to drip. So here's what I do. So if I was working on this dresser, I might paint this side with my clear coat. And then I might come over here and paint the front with my clear coat. And then I would come back over here and say, okay, are there any drips? Then I can come back and like with a really dry brush that has hardly any product on it, kind of get rid of the drips. And then I would check the front. Does it have any drips? And get rid of those drips. And then I go around to the other side, paint it. Then I come all the way back. Okay, is it dripping? Yes, of course it's dripping. It's always dripping. So you have to get rid of the drips before they dry. Otherwise, you're going to be sanding it all the way down, and those drips are what cause your project to turn yellow. So you need to be very careful. And I recommend, so for my yellow dresser, I put 1 coat of clear coat all over the dresser, and then on the top, you need to put 3 coats. And you're at this point in the project, you're so done that you don't want to do this. But this top is what's going to get used the most. It's what's going to get the most scratches. It needs 3 coats. And I promise you, it will take you 5 minutes to come out here. You're going to sand in between every coat still. You just sand it down real quick. You throw on another coat, 5 minutes. Okay? Follow all the instructions about dry time. Don't try to make it go faster than what it is. So I think you have to let this dry for an hour before you can put on the next coat. So I follow those instructions to a T. The final step, now you've done all of it, your project looks amazing, you want to take it inside and use it, don't do that yet. It needs at least 2 to 3 days to cure in your garage before you use it. So just leave it out there, completely forget about it, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, last weekend I painted that dresser and now it's been sitting out there for a week. Now I can bring it inside and use it. So let it sit. And also at the very end, I even take this and I sand down the very last coat. You can feel it, it feels so smooth. It just kind of gets that gummy texture of the paint off and makes it so smooth. So that is my quick tutorial of what I do to paint my furniture. If you have any questions, send me a DM and I'll try to answer them. But I'll see you next week.